for October 9th, 2025. Would you please rise for the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Michaela.
Ron Venter,
Present.
Brian Webb,
Here.
Amanda Trimble,
Here.
Tom Carroll,
Here.
and David Hawkins.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Okay, approval of minutes for 9/11/2025. Comments, questions? Only thing that there is, we do need to add the closing of the public hearing.
Move that we accept those minutes with that addition to close the public hearing.
Motion to accept with the addition of the closing of public hearing. Do I have a second?
A second.
Have a motion second. Can I have a vote by roll call?
John Venter,
Yes.
Brian Webb,
Yes.
Amanda Trimble,
Yes.
Tom Carroll,
Yes.
and David Hawkins.
Yes.
Pass 5-0.
Voucher packet. Comments, questions? Carmen, what do we still owe Crossroads? Roughly?
Design and engineering of Rockwood. 170, it's just under 175. Now that includes inspection. Then on the Whitewood Road and Sawmills. So right there, the 700 and the 17,350, that's the total invoice, but we'll get reimbursed 2/3 of that from the county and New Island. So we're paying it, then we invoice them to recoup. So I'll have to add some sort of delineation on there that shows like when we've received the money back from those two invoices.
Okay. Comments, questions? Hearing none, I'll accept a motion to accept.
I'll motion to accept the voucher packet.
Have a motion to accept. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second. Can I have a vote by roll call?
John Venter,
Yes.
Brian Webb,
Yes.
Amanda Trimble. Yes. Tom Carroll.
Yes.
And David Hawkins.
Yes.
All right, pass 5-0.
Financial report. Caitlin?
So as we discussed, the total amount of the voucher packet was $25,895 for this month. Our current fund balance report is $1,748,825.29. And then this month, for the month of September, the town was able to profit for the redevelopment account $4,717.90.
Is that the interest?
For interest, yes, I'm sorry.
Comments, questions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Old business. We have any, do we? New business. Annual spending report.
To start, then you can pinch it. Actually, Stephen helped me put this together. This is the second year that we've had to adopt a spending plan for the redevelopment commission. And this is just an introduction only. The adoption will be at the November meeting. So just so you can see what we've included in here, the debt payments, and that's the patch bonds estimated, as well as it jumps into capital expenditures. So basically the goal is We want to put in there every project we could potentially do to show that we're gonna spend all of our money. So even though we do not have $16 million in the bank, we're still showing that because our bonding capacity, and I met with Adam Stone today, he's gonna pull that information together on what is our bonding capacity for the redevelopment commission in our TIF area. So examples of capital expenditures would include pay-as-you-go costs of economic development projects, including transportation enhancements, utility infrastructure projects, public park improvements, recreational improvements, and other projects to improve quality of life, as well as real estate acquisition and such. We also did include potential expansion of the town hall, as well as including a generator for the town hall. So those are all types of projects that we maybe would like to do next year, but we want to go ahead and put it in the spending plan. We can always go back and add to the spending plan once it's been submitted to the state, but this gives us kind of a broad project list to work from if anything should arise and you all want to decide to do a project. I did add specifically in here the contributions to local economic development organizations. For the past few years, we have given a substantial amount of money to the Aspire organization, which is our local economic development arm. I met with the executive director or president CEO 2 weeks ago and just kind of shared with him where I am and where I feel is the town needs to be as far as our commitment to their organization. And I had actually reduced what our commitment was going to be for an annual basis. We were at 10,000 and I said I'd like to drop down to 5,000. And so we kind of met, we talked through some things. He said, how about 6? And so I threw in the extra 1,000 that maybe the redevelopment commission could consider making that extra payment or taking us to 6,000. It's kind of every other municipality is based off of your population and who pays what. For me, it was just very difficult for us to justify this is our largest expenditure to a vendor when they haven't really brought us a lot of projects. We go out and we seek them ourselves, or developers bring them to us. And so it was just kind of a conversation that we had, and he said he would keep our benefits the same as what we're getting, even though I'm reducing the amount of coverage, or I called it a donation. It's not a donation, it's not a sponsorship, but our commitment to the Aspire organization. So I went ahead and put that in there, and if the redevelopment commission doesn't want to put that $1,000 in there, we can probably find that within the town's budget as well. So just wanted to kind of give you that because that's something a little different. But you can see there's other opportunities for us to do contributions to local nonprofits, housing related type projects. So just keep that in mind as we progress in future years. Professional expenses, this includes our legal, any accounting that we might incur, engineering and such. And then specifically, we put in there the engineering for 2 roundabouts and legal fees that may be tied to that. On expenditures related to capital and operating expenses, specifically for police and fire, I didn't put the town hall expansion in there. But that's what we kind of talked about at the last meeting, is to start having some conversations about helping provide. It was kind of specific to maybe police and public safety, but if we were to do a town hall expansion, I think it would benefit the town as well with our space. So I didn't put it in there specifically. Now, if we were to look at building a standalone or working in collaboration with another entity to do a standalone facility, that would probably be something that either we revise or we can go back and edit if we get that far down the road in 2026. Would that be fair? Or would it be better to put it in there now?
I don't think that you necessarily would have to, because I think your capital improvements
It kind of is.
is broad enough to cover that.
Okay. But I did put in there additional flock cameras. Once we get the ones that those would be in addition to the roundabout. So as I discussed when we started talking about the flock cameras, Bargersville has them at every entry point into their communities. That might be something that this board would want to consider helping to assist the town and the police department if we want to look at flock cameras at every entry point into the town.
Except where there's already one for another town, I would imagine.
Correct. And the school has one as well. So I just, what did we say that they were, for the subscription and the cameras for out here was estimated, for 2 cameras was $12,000. It may have just been a little less, but I went ahead and bumped it up because if we had an entry point coming this way, into on Whiteland Road, and then also maybe on the south side, I don't know exactly where the one for the school is. It's probably up by the school. But I'm thinking maybe at the Franklin, Whiteland entry point into the town, so.
Yeah, so Franklin has one currently and they move theirs around, but they currently have their northbound one at Commerce
Okay,
and 31. New Whiteland is putting one in at Whiteland Tracy Road and 31. Which by the time that hits and they get locked or it gets pushed, they'll be in Franklin. So I'm not sure
okay,
what
Yeah.
we may want to be considering working with towns like Greenwood to say, can we put it far enough north
that's
and
me.
Franklin far enough south that it's beneficial once it hits and has a chance to process and send the notification. And I know, it may make some consideration to taking it in from park area. So,
So I just wanted to kind of be proactive on that as an opportunity. Since that's kind of what I heard at the last meeting for public safety and
so we spent significantly more this year on public safety. If you look at the fire department
We did.
and,
Yeah.
and we don't get anything for the police, is 20,000 enough?
well, and that's,
Any expenses that either one is going to bring forward besides the flock cameras?
I could see there being more vehicles. Maybe needed, in the sense of, I'm not sure what the new town marshal is wanting to do with, with the
Red,
Tahoe that's out there since now it's, but he's like, oh, is that a fire one? But
Did he keep his truck?
he says he feels more comfortable in his truck and I'm like, well, yeah. So that could be conversations I could have with Derek to kind of just see.
I would just touch base with both.
Yeah.
See what their requests are. I mean, I think we've been pretty generous with the fire department.
And like Stephen was mentioning, the expenditures, just because and maybe it would look a little better if we increase that a bit, but above it with that 16 million, that could include any public safety type expenditures too. I just remember or had heard that there would be interest in more flock cameras, so I wanted to make sure that was on there. And then on the, if you drop down to L, expenditures from bond proceeds, you can see what this would be expenditures for any, the lease financing, so that's, that does include like the roundabout at Bob Glidden and Whiteland Road. And we also added in, Stephen and I spoke, so on the town's project list is the sewer plant. That 13 million isn't enough to cover it all, but it would be something that the redevelopment could fund a portion of any improvements once we get to the point to actually be ready for a project. But we're out smoke testing, or we've been out smoke testing for the last 2 days. And I've gotten about 4 phone calls to fire department or to dispatch saying I have smoke coming in my house, and so that's whatever. And so then you specifically will see the principal amount of the bond, the redevelopment authority bond that is in process of 2.45 million. And that is specifically for the roundabout at Whiteland Road and Bob Glidden that would go to bid later this year. And that closing is expected here in the end of the month, the 23rd, I think. Maybe not closing,
I
but
think
like
middle of November.
and then put in other anticipated expenditures as well. So this is a draft, it's introduction. Like I said, I spoke with Adam today and he's going to work on the redevelopment commission's kind of bonding capacity. So the numbers may change. I will work with fire chief and town marshal to see if there's any other expenditures on the public safety side that they'd like to see us potentially consider for those departments.
Carmen, what has Aspire actually done for us in the last 3 years?
So they market our buildings that are available. I say our buildings, they're not the town's, but they do impact the town. If they're vacant, they're not bringing us as much revenue or tax revenue as if they're full. And then there's other things too, they don't bring the people, different things. So they do market us in a bigger, broader spectrum because we don't have a full-time staff that can really work on economic development for us. So they help to market us. They bring us it's been slow the last year just because everybody's been slow in the sense of just not a lot of traction on different things. They also, they will have the conversations with site selectors. They actually have been having quite a few meetings with site selectors, and they'll do they'll invite a whole bunch of site selectors to just learn about the Johnson County area. So it may not be specific to Whiteland, but again, if we have a building that's available, they will help to promote that. Not just the buildings, but even if we have land for potential development, because everybody's looking for something in a different, at a different time. Some want build to suit, some want an already existing building. I had a meeting today with Aspire for a potential project to go into the Gateway, the building 1, the furthest south building. And they need a building by December. So they're looking to move fairly quickly to make a decision. And it's down to just a couple here in the central Indiana. They were supposed to go in a building in Greenfield, and the building sold. And then that new owner of the building already had plans for it. So they'd already ordered all their equipment. So they were kind of, they're in a pickle in a sense to find the right fit for them. So we went with them today to talk through incentives. And of course, I cannot make that commitment. So I'm going to the council on Tuesday to further discuss potential incentives, but it would be a tenant that would lease for at least 15 years. But they would like to have the town council consider a business personal property tax. So I shared with them the way that the state made changes to our property taxes. That might be a harder sell. So tell us, you're going to have to sell it to the council as far as how this would be beneficial to the town to bring this with an additional incentive, especially on the business personal property tax. But they're looking at 100 employers. All I can tell you is it's a food processing facility, does not have a lot of water use. That was my first thing when you hear food, is you think that there's a high water requirement that they water, and then they usually discharge quite a bit of sewer, but this one would not. So it could be a good opportunity. But those are the types of things they help to have those conversations. They also received the state leads from the Indiana Economic Development Corporation. So they help to facilitate those throughout the community. They have a school to work program. So they even help to take high school students and, kind of give them the training they need to go into the workforce if that's what they choose. So they do a lot of partnerships within the county and state and help us to do that. So they don't necessarily, we don't always win a project. They help bring us the DHL, the Verizon building, or the people that are in the Verizon, they help to do that one. But a lot of our developers have brokers that have done it on their own.
You know how our donation or gift or whatever you want to call it compares to other localities?
So like I said, we were at 10,000 before. Franklin gives 30,000. Greenwood's upwards of over 50. Bargersville is, I think they're around 15. I'm the first one to push back, but I'm not going to be the only one.
Our partners to the north?
They do not participate.
Okay.
And neither does Trafalgar or Edinburgh, because Edinburgh is technically in 3 counties.
Yeah.
So technically they're part of the Columbus economic, regional development down there.
Yeah. Okay.
Any questions on the spending plan? Is there anything else you'd like for me to see on here?
What about parks? Is there anything?
There isn't specifically, but it is in that lump, and under C, in capital expenditures.
Good.
It does talk about parks, so hopefully we'll be ready to do something next year. Build John his pickleball courts.
If you lock them up, I'll finish the key. I'm just saying.
Okay.
What is the police department needing as far as vehicles again?
I don't know. I'm where we need to get into, so after with the ARPA money and with the tornado, their vehicles, they replaced quite a few at one point. So when Chief Ship was there, what I had said is we need to, like, let's just say a 5-year cycle. If we waited for all, I think there was 10 vehicles. If we
Yeah.
waited for all 10 of those till that 5-year, that we're not gonna be able to afford that. If you go at 55,000 today's dollars and probably 60 to 70 after you outfit them. We're not gonna be able to afford to buy 10 at a time. And so I had kind of said, like, if we could start, maybe we do an auction or, replace a vehicle that's maybe only 3 years old, but we start getting into a routine where we are more like 2 to 3 a year to where we're not replenishing 10 at a time. So I know there's an old K9 vehicle. We still have some of the Chargers. And a lot of them have started going we have 3 Tahoes now.
Mhm. I don't think there's any immediate need, Dave, if you're.
No.
No,
I mean, it's more,
I was just curious.
it's
because
more as,
I remember talking about, sorry,
no,
I remember talking about doing all the cars on a cycle
Mhm.
before. And I was kind of thinking about that and that's what you said,
Yeah.
but they're
the cycle's thrown off because they push so many through with
Yeah.
federal money
Yep.
and tornado money. So.
Right.
But to your point, if they cycle a couple of them early, then you do get on that 5-year cycle plan.
And that was kind of what I had asked Rick to start kind of thinking, let's get on that sooner rather than later. So we're not, because the last vehicles that were replaced, the town was able to purchase some of those. And so that was something where they, with a public safety vehicle for the police and fire, they don't like the mileage to get high. They do kind of, they might have to beat on them a little bit when they're, on a, hit the gas and, but it would be okay for maybe like the town to continue to use those vehicles because our vehicles, the asset life is usually 7 to 10 years. So even if it's something where it helps us replace some vehicles, like we could buy them and then they could get the newer vehicles just to get them on a better replacement cycle. So we don't have a big lump sum. As far as other things, I mean, I can't speak for them, but we have drones as well that are very expensive. So that might be something. And as we look to the future and our growth, we may end up adding an officer. So maybe we have X number of vehicles now, but if we add more officers, obviously we'll have to equip them as well. So,
And we've got an open position now.
right. Well, and that's what I'm like.
We have vehicles for that. 'Cause
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah.
but to your point, most likely with all the growth, you're gonna have 1 or 2 new officers in the next year or two.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
What
but I'll
are
ask them.
the cars? Are they 23s now?
Let's see, well, I mean, we have 23, 24s and do we have any 25? No, we don't have a 24.
2
Oh.
Tahoes,
Is Tyler's 25,
I think
Doss
24s.
24s? So they're 22, 23 and 24.
But we still have like some of the, like, what year's your Durango?
16.
And that's, so there's some opportunities there, but I'll ask also just because there may be something that we're not even thinking of that maybe they would like to have. That would be good to come before this.
I know their radios and stuff are about 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
They got a grant, I think.
Yeah, I'd say a lot of it goes through grants.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff goes through grants, but it would be good to touch base with both entities just to see what they don't have in their current budget.
So. Any other questions on that? Do we need any kind of motion or anything since it's introduction?
No, unless they want to give us direction on any changes that they want. But I would also add that, as you may remember, every year about the same time, we have to not only do this spending plan, but we also have to adopt a additional appropriation resolution, which really, well, more traditionally controls what we can spend. It's just in a different form. And it will reflect the same concept that you see. So if there's anything you don't like or want to change in here, we'll need to reflect that in the additional appropriation resolution, which my intent would be to have that at the November meeting. We have to have a hearing with notice and so forth. I think that's really all. And at the November meeting, we'll also be doing the annual TIF presentation that's required for the tax units.
Do we need to do a motion on the $1,000 for expire?
No, they're not asking for it. This is the proposal for
Right.
expend for next year, so I don't think we're not asking for it today. But to me, the only thing that I would say to do is work with the different entities.
Yeah.
Would it be appropriate for me to maybe reach out to the other department heads too?
That's what I was getting ready to say is, I mean, is there anybody else that we need to talk to see what? I know that everybody has their wish list of,
And I think it needs to go throughout to
yeah.
Okay,
take care of it all.
all right, thank you. The only other, I don't know if you're ready to move on to my reports.
It's up to you.
I don't really
you-
have a
sure.
report, but I have an update. So after the last meeting, you all kind of had made a statement and interest that to consider expanding the town hall. So Kenny Polly and I, who was interim chief at the time, we met with a developer called 523 Development. It's two individuals that recently left another entity and started their own for consideration of what's called a build, operate, transfer, a BOT. You'll hear BOT quite a bit. And so back right before the tornado, we had talked with a developer about the consideration of us entertaining bots in the future. Tornado hits, then we kind of pause. But in that process, the town council did adopt the ability for us to do a build, operate, transfer, and adopted the documents, the resolution to allow us to do that. So we met with the 523 development folks and we are ready to, so we talked to them about would that be a combined town hall, police station? We also talked about the possibility of we do a standalone facility that kind of follows where the comp plan is. That would be more over by where the fire station is. So basically what the next steps for us would be to do is what we call a statement of qualifications, where we would put this out in the paper and publicize it to entertain any entities that are experienced and qualified, interested in partnering with the town for the planning, financing, design, development, and construction of municipal facility improvements under the build, operate, transfer. All of this said, it's very vague on how we say like, hey, would you like to work with us? Is kind of what we're thinking. There's no dollars and cents that are shared at any point or given to any entity. This is all done for free. So the scoping we haven't started that, but what we would like to do is to do that request for qualifications and put that out there to see who we get. With the build, operate, transfer, it's different than your public works law. You don't have to take lowest bidder. You can pick who you want to work with. If you say XYZ engineer, yes, XYZ engineer, no. Like you can choose your engineers, you can choose your architects. And that's what the 523 development folks would help kind of be that project manager and facilitate it all. So it would be the town, we would intend to review, analyze, and budget multiple alternatives during this scoping period to kind of figure out what we would want. Let's say we come back and they say, well, if you expand town hall, it's going to cost X number, but you could go build a whole new facility for the same amount kind of thing. And so we kind of can gather more information, get our project scoped for what the town would want, and what the town could afford. And then kind of go from there before we actually make any commitments and sign anything with any contractors or engineers, like architects, anything like that. So we did have that meeting. It went really well. I do want to bring Derek up to speed on that and also ask if Kenny could still be involved, just because that he was the one that brought it to me. I think it would be good to have a couple of them involved from the leadership side on that project. So like I said, we did kind of have that. I told them I wasn't ready to, I said, just with everything going on, like we met with them, I think 2 weeks ago. I said, I'll try to get it out in October, but most likely it's going to be in November. So we'll get something put out and kind of go from there. So that's my update.
So what's the benefit to them? So for us, it allows us to pick whatever.
Right.
Whatever vendors we want, right? What's the benefit to this company that?
They obviously get a cut at some point. They do make money off of
So
it.
they're gonna build it, they're gonna,
They would we can use them as construction managers. We could work with them all the way to where we're ready to sign on the dotted line and move forward with a project and then say, oh, we want to manage the project on our own. So it's kind of it's a risky thing for this 523 development, because we could get to the finish line and then say, yeah, we've got another project manager that wants to do this project and they've done all this work for us for free. The intent is that if we're working with them, that we would hopefully continue our relationships and use them till the end of the project.
Cool.
But it's zero risk for the town to do this. It's something that I'll call it, again, with the public works law, we're stuck with lowest bidder. And our recent road project is a perfect example of how that is continues to just hurt small municipalities. It also, using this model, it locks in any pricing from the beginning, so there's no change orders. So let's say that, let's say we have to pave the parking lot and they mess it up and they have to chew it up and start over and, do it 3 times. It's all on there. We're locked in. If we paid X amount, we do not pay anymore. And so that's another kind of safety net for towns, and schools can do this as well.
Yeah, I'm hearing that we're probably gonna get a really high number then. If you have to allow for that.
I don't know, a lot of so when their previous venture where they were at before, a lot of municipalities are going to this model. The Greenwood, the new fire station that's being built, I think it's 95. It was their previous company where they worked. And that's the company that's they're doing the build, operate, transfer. A lot of schools are looking at doing it. Martinsville schools just did it. And I had met with Dr. Edsel about a year ago and tossed this idea out to him, and they're considering a project over there that's more build, operate, transfer. And so it's more like a lot of, like I said, Lebanon, I think it was their police station, and then their government building have all done the build, operate, transfers. And
It's probably fine. I'm not objecting to it. I'm just saying that if someone says change orders aren't going to cost you anything and I never have any change orders, I guess I just paid way too much because you had to have budgeted change orders in that price. It's just what I'm saying.
right. In the few projects that I've been kind of involved in from beginning to end, I've always had a change order.
that's your point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It happens all the time. Five Star never increased for 10 years what they told Clark Pleasant they'd pay for that. And I'm like,
How are they?
were we paying too much for 9 years? How could you never raise your rate? So anyway.
We would have the opportunity to pick who we would want, and
I'm not saying it's bad. Just a thing. It's going in my mind is saying, yeah, okay, then that number's got to be high.
I know it sounds too good to be true, right?
Go out of business if it's not good for them.
Right.
And I'm not saying they shouldn't make money. I just thinking it through.
So that's kind of where we're at with that. And like I said, I want to bring Derek up to speed and then kind of talk through you know, if that's something that the three of us or whoever else we want to involve in kind of the next steps of that.
Carmen, has there been any thought? I mean, if we get a new public safety building or a new town hall, whichever, of the police department taking this building over completely?
I mean, this would allow for us to do a whole bunch of things. We've even talked about going across the street. At one point, we talked about buying that land. We've talked about buying that White House. We've talked about like a lot of different things. And that's all we've done is talk. And so that's where it's just, I think, truly getting the scope of what we need and then what we can afford. And how it sits on the priority list with other things, like if we have other projects. And so, but
It would be good to see the whole thing, because you could spend all your money on a just awesome and well-deserved facility there, or a recreational center that would be awesome and also well-deserved, or you name it, all these things. But maybe we can't do all those things. But it'd be good to know, what are we gonna get and what are we not gonna do? Or we're gonna do that medium and that small and these two large, or whatever.
right. And that's where, like, when you talk about, you know, amenities, parks can be built through a build, operate, transfer. There's a lot of different, you could buy fire trucks through build, operate, transfer. I'm not saying that we buy a fire truck through a build, operate, transfer. I'm just saying that there are certain things that can be done through that it's become more popular with government entities, just due to us having a lot of extra costs on when we do a public works project.
Yeah, I just challenge you to look holistically through the whole town to see what you need before we jump to, and don't do something to solve something real quick if it's gonna,
Yeah.
you know, be a detriment for the future.
Well, the one thing that, and maybe I shared this at the last time, is that even if this wasn't going to be the permanent home of town hall and or police department, could we still do something here that makes it more marketable in the future for, you know, a business that wants to, you know, a lawyer firm, an accounting firm, or whatever we would like to see retail. Like I said, I'd love to see this back as a grocery store, but, you know, so that's kind of where it's like, even if we were to do something here, I'd want it to be able to be, if we would move, to be flipped into something that could be beneficial for the town. So maybe I'm being optimistic there.
What's the council's wish list for 26?
We don't have one yet. I have a 5-year plan that I show them, and I haven't gotten like, this is what we want to do. So.
It's a good question. We'd want to be aligned. The opposite.
Just to kind of like give me like, you know, the big thing right now, like, and I'll go back to the sewer. So the next step with our sewer, getting us to where we could figure out our project that we really need to do, was to do this. They're doing the closed camera TV and smoke testing. This morning, like I said, they were still on the west side of 31. They had found 22 areas that are, you know, smoke is coming up where it shouldn't be, meaning that there's an issue with the pipes. So that was kind of where, that was our next step of the sewer project before we got to a 2 project list, was to kind of triage what's in the ground and see, is it something that could be lined? Is it something that has to be fully replaced and repaired? And kind of assess from there how we build our true project, because there's an improvement to the sewer plant that needs to happen. But then the other part was the collection system, and then that's what the smoke testing is doing right now.
Well, it seems like we go into react mode, meeting the town,
Absolutely. We have a water leak right now over on Front Street.
but most of it's not really sewer, it's water. And we get a water break in 10 minutes and
And this we think is a service line. So it's somebody's service line, but the service line goes under the road.
we've had some mains
to our
that
main.
we've had to spend a lot of money on those. So is there testing for that, or are they looking to?
We have in the budget that there would be, I think I put in there about 100,000 of what we would call preventive maintenance. So if you've noticed around town, I passed one while I came through, I cut through Briar Creek, and Oakville on my way here. So right now we're also flushing hydrants. And so you'll see some have bags on them. All those
Mhm.
need replaced. We're at upwards of 20 hydrants that need replaced.
Those are,
Yeah, the ones there's one in Briar Creek. I just came
Yeah.
through there and it's bagged.
Wow.
So. Yeah, it's part of section 1, so it was like one of the very first ones
Yeah.
probably put in.
by the ESP.
Bag hydrants, what's that doing to insurance for fire insurance?
Well. We're gonna hopefully get them fixed before we have to worry about any. But that's where we're supposed to be flushing hydrants twice a year. And then recognizing if there's an issue with the hydrant, is it seized up? Is it, can we not get it closed off or whatever it is? And that's been something that we've just not had enough manpower to get done. So within our public works, we have 8 people total for water, sewer, storm, and street. We have 8 employees. So when we have a water leak, we had to call in, there's 4 of them over there right now.
Maybe,
So I have put people in the budget for next year too to add because that's why these maintenance projects have not happened. Because we just don't have we don't have the manpower. So
sounds like,
we're working on some things there. We were also talking to some contractors because I said, I don't want to replace hydrants. We're gonna have to get that contracted out. So yes, there's lots of projects we have. What is it, over $100 million worth of projects on my 5-year list?
and like people's the big thing.
Any other questions for me?
Thank you. Any other comments, questions, concerns? Stephen?
Nope.
We're adjourned.